Hey again, everyone. How's it going? Is there such thing as true beauty? A lot of folks would say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And that's something I once believed, and I still do to an extent. But I'm not talking about the beauty being skin deep of human beings, how much makeup you're wearing, or how blue your eyes are. I've got quite blue eyes. I'm talking about the overall idea of what beauty is. And all of us have experienced being immersed in something beautiful. And for me, it's being out in nature. When I look around me at the mountains, at the streams, I mean, I can sit by a little brook or a little stream and just be completely in awe at what nature can provide. It's a very simple thing. It's something that we're always exposed to when we go out and see it. But is it beautiful because it's something different from what I'm used to in my home? Or is it something beautiful because of what it is in general? And I take myself back to Native Americans or the times of, the hunter-gatherer tribes of the past and think, did they see beauty in the same way? In other words, could they walk up to a sunset and say, wow, that is just gorgeous? Or was it just the daily way of life? How much of beauty are we taught? And this comes up because of the way that people always have these notions of what beautiful people are, and our society with the makeup and clothing and all the bullshit out there and all the marketing crap that's pulled over. They've convinced a whole generation that being 85 pounds and rail skinny was somehow beautiful. Now, I don't buy into that, but I don't mean I don't just buy into that being beautiful, but I don't buy into the idea that a whole generation was fooled into thinking of what is beautiful. Because the whole time I was growing up, when I saw these models, they always disgusted me. I said, man, they need to eat a cheeseburger, These chicks need to get some food in them. I can't help it. That's just how I felt. I thought, this is not normal. People should not look like they're starving to death. Anorexia, bulimia, all these things sprouted out of this idea that beautiful was skinny. To me, that's pretty sad, and it's pretty disturbing, actually. But they fell for it. They went on. They completely bought into it, and so a lot of people did. It's easy to see through, but it makes me wonder what beauty actually is. So I've studied the idea of beauty, and apparently there is a certain proportion to a face which is considered standard beauty. Not just to a face, but we start talking about the Fibonacci spiral, or where's the Fibonacci sequence, which is like I think it's the phi ratio, which a certain shape of a spiral which makes certain things beautiful. It has to do with proportion, and a lot of artists understand this when they paint. But then there's the obscure beauty, just random things that don't fit into those paradigms. That you look at something and you think it's just beautiful for its own sake, but you're not quite able to define it. Sometimes it's not order that is beautiful, but it's chaos. If you know what I mean, looking at a whirlpool, it looks orderly, but it's the ultimate example of chaos, unpredictability. But I've read a lot about chaos and chaos theory and whether or not these things are predictable in their own way. In other words, is chaos a predictable thing itself? So maybe the beauty of chaos is in the fact that it's not orderly. And then we see a separate type of beauty within order. It's interesting how different humans find different humans attractive, and that's, I guess, the most basic way that you can really start to understand these things, or that I can. I mean, I'm just speaking my mind here, but I don't really know any better than you do. Looking at something that looks beautiful, and you wonder why, or you say, man, that woman looks gorgeous, and somebody else is like, oh, she's not very pretty. And that's how it's always been with my friends and I. One person sees somebody as beautiful, the other doesn't. And so you have to weigh out how much of that was taught and how much of it was learned. And I guess maybe it just gets more confusing than it's worth. When you step away from the human factor and you just look at animals, for example, there's some animals that look pretty ugly. but you see the beauty within the animal itself for what it is. And that's an interesting concept in itself. Then there are some animals that are just gorgeous, but they're rude and crude or ruthless, you know, and you're like, oh, that's, you know, different types of beauty, I guess. I guess I'll leave it at that. I have to go in a few minutes to pick up the kids. It was just a thought on the top of my head, and I want to know what you all think about beauty. What is it? Can it be defined? Is it all perspective? Is it in the eye of the beholder? Or is there a true beauty? Thoughts?